Bruins Beat, brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into the Bruins Beat, presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get up to $100 cash back on that first deposit. And we're presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. Connor, football's right around the corner. Show up to the game with Game Time. That's what matters most. Show up to the game with Game Time. I am Evan Marinofsky. That is Conor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. It's end of August here. We're winding down. Fall is right around the corner. I saw a tweet the other day that said in Boston and in Massachusetts, I think it was like Thursday or Friday was the last day that the sun would set before 8 p.m. Until like May of 2025. And that I like fall. I like winter, but I hate the sun going down early. I really don't like it. That's my during the winter when you and I typically do work past 5 p.m. It happens every now and again. That will happen, and I'll be sitting at my desk and it'll be like 5:30 and it's just pitch black out, and I'm like, how long? Like, what time is it? How long have I been working for? Oh, it's 5:45 p.m. Tough. I'm not a fan of it, but that's just me. I think that's most people though.
Yes.
So. Anyways, little bit of news here, sort of some new stuff on the Jeremy Swayman front. So Jeremy Swayman actually participated in a triathlon here in Boston, which triathlons not easy. That's a legit workout. That is not just that's not just going to Planet Fitness, lifting a few weights, running on the treadmill. I know that from personal experience. Triathlons are very legit. And he participated in one on, I believe, was it Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday.
And so Ty Anderson was there. Good friend Ty Anderson was there.
He was taking part in the triathlon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ty was actually interviewing him on the bike, next to him.
He was like, triathlon's like you do the swimming part of it, right? That's how you start off.
Yes,
right.
That is part of it.
He was doing that while interviewing him. Like, I'm sure the audio probably sounded like shit.
Yeah, underwater too. Like, yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm really I can't wait to
exactly. Ty's going above and beyond to get that exclusive
that was the whole interview.
Yes,
and the whole interview is I can. I'm really, I think we're gonna go. That's actually what he said. That exactly. Is completely what he said.
That was one of the stipulations of the interview, so you could occasionally have it be muffled a little bit from the salt water in Boston Harbor. So
that's right. Yes. Triathlon is running, swimming, biking, which it sounds. I actually just saw a TikTok. It wasn't. It's actually.
I suck at all of those things. So
yeah, I'm not great with any of those. Especially swimming. I'm not like the best swimmer. I can swim, obviously, but like in a competition, I feel like I would just be like, all right, I'm done. I can't do this. I'll run extra miles. I'll bike extra miles. I can't do this. But I did see, and I know we're getting a little off topic here, but again, it's late August. What do you want us to do? On TikTok recently, there was a guy, I forget the guy's name. He did like 110-mile run through like the European mountains, and it was a long ass marathon, obviously days long. And he's on mile 80, and he's like, yeah, I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing cows with like peace signs on them. My holy shit. But again, like to mentally get yourself geared up for that, I run like 3 miles, and by like mile 2, I'm like, man, I could just quit. Like, it's not, what do I have to lose here? Like, I could just walk the rest of the way. Why am I continuing to run? I can't imagine that. But triathlons, obviously very long distance. But Ty Anderson was there. Ty was there and asked Jeremy Swayman about the one thing that everyone cares about Jeremy Swayman, which is why has that contract not been signed yet? And he said, quote, I do love it in Boston, and that's all I can control. And I know that. I have complete trust in my agent, and I know that it's going to get done eventually. He also went on to say, because he spent the summer in Boston, he's not been back in Alaska, which is the second straight summer that he's done that. He said, quote, I knew that if I wanted to be an elite level goalie, I need to train year round at an elite level, and Boston has that. And that's something I've been attracted to with Boston, and being able to tap into the community more and more every year, and I feel more ingrained in this community. He's been working over at BU, which, again, has Brian DeCord, Ken Whittier. Like, yeah, I know. There you go. Congratulations. There's lots of areas. Stop at goaltending. There's a lot of things in Boston and Metro Boston that are a goalie's best friend. But clearly wants to be here. Again, I think it kind of lines up with our kind of predictions, which is sort of right before camp, right around camp, when people kind of come back to Boston, when things kick it back into gear. I think that's when this is going to happen. These comments don't change my prediction of when this is going to happen. What about you?
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I think at this point, the amount of panic over this, the amount of imagining worst case scenarios, I find is kind of crazy. And again, I've made the ill-advised decision, Evan, to check social media, check the comments, because I wrote something about, when he was on the EEI Nesson Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon, more or less saying the same things about, having full confidence in a deal getting done. And all the comments, and I'm sure all the comments on Ty's story are like, this negotiation's going sideways. The Bruins are going to let him walk. They're going to end up trading him. No, like everything is mapped out in this scenario where, again, Jeremy Swayman's been out and about. He's been out in Italy at a couple of weddings. It's the slow point of the off season anyway. I think once these guys get back and get around training camp, they're going to hash something out. And again, like, what's the final price going to be? That's where the question is, right? Like, is it going to be 7.5? Is it going to be 8.5? I mean, the Bruins, I think you look at, I think Bruins cap space have the Bruins at $9.35 million. So it's not like they're at like 7.5 and they have to have it at that level. And that's where the negotiation is. Like,
you're like, please take this.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you look at the variance and what can go wrong, and I get it, right? This is Boston, this is Bruins fans. It's the natural inclination is to imagine what could go wrong. He's still a restricted free agent. You get at this point of the off season where you're fretting over office sheets, and I know was it Vancouver's or the Oilers are going through some shit right now with offer sheets, but you look at how many teams are out there that have the means at this point of the offseason to throw out a $9.5 million contract, which again, the Bruins have the cap space to accommodate that. Like, I don't know which team's throwing $11 million at Jeremy Swayman just to fuck with the Bruins, right?
I don't either.
I just think you hit the point now where when you look at the timing of things, when you look at just the Bruins and the cap space they still have, which I guess when you look at, back at July 1st, why they maybe didn't pursue a guy like a Duclair or one of these other top six, middle six wingers who maybe was more affordable, why they didn't, jump in on that sweepstakes there. Could see why they wanted to give themselves some leeway. So I think you look at, again, the restrictions that come with the guys who are restricted free agents like Jeremy Swayman, the Bruins and what they have in terms of cap flexibility and the timing of things. It's kind of the same thing as what David Pasternak's contract was in 2017 when he was an RFA, where I don't think that was done until I think maybe a couple of days into camp, I want to say. So I'm not fretting over it. I just think you look, it's only natural to imagine the worst in some of these situations, but I think a deal is going to get done. Now, what is the final price? That remains to be seen, but in terms of any worst case scenarios, I think we're so far past that again, it's what day is it? We're recording on August 19th. Not a lot going on, not a lot to talk about, but I'm not fretting over this thing going threat level midnight and going to shit in short order or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I know, again, could this be like Tuukka Rask leaving the bubble where the night before we're like, oh, this, who knows what he's, his comments were. He just, it's the bubble. And then the next day it's like Tuukka Rask has decided to leave the Bruins. It's like, okay, well, there's something real here. But that was a different time. Contract negotiations are much more standard than a COVID bubble. So, again, I'm not fretting about this either. You mentioned, though, like a lot of things are not happening. Something did just happen as we recorded. Patrick Laine, officially a Montreal Canadian, goes from the Jackets to Montreal. The Habs also get a 2026 second-round pick, which is a legitimate piece. And going back to Columbus is Jordan Harris. So, again, defensive prospect there, going for Laine in a second. Interesting move by Montreal. I mean, I get Columbus kind of wanted to get rid of Laine. We talked about, back in the doldrums of the summer, would Laine make sense for the Bruins? We both said no. He makes a lot of money, a lot of money. And there's no salary retained in that deal. I think that's why Columbus had to cough up a second-round pick.
So you're saying
well.
that? So you're saying that the Montreal is not going to give Jeremy Swayman an $11 million per year offer sheet or anything like that?
I guess not now. I guess Swayman is off the table. You can tweet that. No Swayman to Montreal anymore. What a damn shame that is.
Yeah, let's show.
Swayman had some other comments that I found interesting. We can kind of get into some, reading the tea leaves. But first, quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. One Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. That's 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which players aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Will Patrick Mahomes throw for more or less than 4,300 yards? Will CJ Stroud's sophomore season result in more or less than 4,150 yards? Enter your season picks before week 1 kicks off. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Run your game. So Swayman made some other comments to Ty Anderson saying that, you quote, I believe that experience is the key to it all and going through these types of things, which again, he went through this last year with arbitration. Quote, I'm getting just as much experience right now as I did last year with different ways of it all. And we know it's a business. It's unfortunate at times, but I know I'm going to be playing hockey at the end of the day. And I really hope it's with the Boston Bruins. Now, that part of it's like, ooh, because you have in one quote, you have the business. Whenever a player mentions it's a business, it's like, ugh. And then on the other end, like, I hope I'm playing, I know I'm going to play hockey. Hope it's with the Bruins, which I believe him. I know he wants to be here. He spends his summers here. Like, I have no doubt that he wants to be here and in the Northeast. And then, Ty Anderson asked, if he was focused on a long-term deal. And Swayman said, well, right now I'm focused on being a triathlete. Which, again, not surprising that he's not going to discuss contract specifics before they're out. I do find it interesting, though, like, I am trying to gain, like, what does he want? What is the holdup when they go back to the negotiating table? What is it? Is it a long-term deal? Is it AAV? Is it, we mentioned before, does he want an Austin Matthews-like contract? So I don't like, that's the other thing. And I don't think we gain that from these quotes. We do know that he wants to be back in Boston. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but I'm just curious what the holdup is.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's tough to read as to what exactly he's looking for in terms of term. You have to imagine for any player they're looking for, if it's someone who's mentioned how much they want to be here, you'd imagine it's, security in a long-term deal after, navigating through arbitration last year, having that 8-year contract probably is a weight off your shoulder, right? But by that same token, this is a guy that in terms of his value, you have to weigh one, could his value spike in another year or two when he's the number one goalie and maybe what we saw, in the playoffs last year is just the start of a legitimate top 3 Vezina contending goalie. So you have that to contend that maybe that's influencing whether it's more of he's looking for like a 4 or 5 year deal or he's looking for an 8-year deal. But even if it is 8 years, this is a guy that is in kind of an interesting spot when you look at how many premier franchise young goalies are due to get paid the next year or two. Some of it, and this is a Bruins team that has benefited quite a bit from guys taking hometown discounts over the years. But I think if you're a player in such a premium position with so many other guys behind you, like Ottinger and Shesterkin and a few of these other players, it's all about also setting the market floor, right? Like, I don't think he's looking at, $6.5 million when you're looking at what could happen in another year or two, right? When Shesterkin's up or Ottinger or all these guys, maybe it's, you're looking for at least 8 to have that be kind of the new market floor for these guys. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. As you said, it's tough to kind of read what exactly he's looking for, by those quotes. But I just think you look at what makes the most sense. It's probably just a long-term deal, and it comes down to what the annual payout is. And again, it's kind of, we've mentioned this, the entire summer, that we're saying, all right, 7.5, 8.5, get it done somewhere in there. But it can change based on, what he's looking at, whether he thinks there's, is he banking on more improvement and that's why he's asking for more or anything like that. So until it'll be fascinating, because I feel like once the news actually drops, or it's from the Bruins, that's usually where it comes from in these contract negotiations. But whenever that final payout is, I think it's going to be fascinating to see what they finally come to, because you can make an argument for 7.5, 7. You can make an argument for 9, right? Like, just the way these things kind of go.
I'm ready for it to be done.
Yeah.
And again, you and I have preached all summer that this is not something to worry about, but it's still something we do have to talk about, and we have to hash out and discuss. And I think like that's an element where it's like, all right, like let's get this over with. Let's get camp in front of us. Let's talk about training camp storylines, which we will a lot, obviously, in the coming weeks. Again, games are starting up again, Connor. Football and hockey and basketball. So you want to go to the game? Check out our good friends over at Game Time. Fall is beginning, which means football is back. Nothing beats a college football atmosphere. And with both college and NFL games, who doesn't love a good tailgate? Get to the game with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. This fall, my friends and I are going to the Patriots-Titans game in Tennessee. And how will we get tickets for the game? Game Time, of course. The super deal has been amazing to us in the past, and there's no doubt it will be great to us again. I just love the curated deals, which make it easier to find the best price on great seats. Some other features I love are the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Now, back to the show. So, last week you caught up with Johnny Beecher. You caught up with Mason Lowry at TD Garden at an event to deliver school supplies to kids. I like their comments
to school,
in there.
baby.
I like their comments in there of like, every time you go back to school shopping, I was like, dang, like, seriously, that's it? Like, summer's over.
It really was disheartening, like, as a kid, where I feel like it'd be like, you have like 4th of July, which I feel like always was like the peak, right, of summer. And it felt like you're right in the middle. You still had a lot more time to go. But then all of a sudden, like, it's July 5th and you already got the Walmart and the Target back to school things already. And it's like, I don't want to think about binders right now. Shit.
And July 4th is like sort of the top of the roller coaster of summer. Because once it's slow up to that and then right down. And then that's like summer's over after July 4th. So, yeah, I mean, I'm like going to Walmart. And it was always surreal. Like, reality was breaking. We're going to Walmart to get all this stuff, and it's summer, but like school is on the mind, and I'm getting, my math packets I've got to do, and
you gotta get the calculator that you're never gonna use, and it costs you $498.
Or like in elementary school, you'd buy like so many supplies your teacher would request, and you wouldn't use like half of them. And I was like, all right, well,
yeah, it's
how's the point of this?
All right, I'm doing geometry. I don't need a fusion like collider here or something. Like, just buy some like from like Switzerland and get it imported in for $900. Like, no, I don't need that. I just need markers.
Well, I always liked in high school it'd just be like 4 or 5 folders and like 4 or 5 notebooks, and that's all I needed. High school was all it was. Because in middle school, did you ever use the Trapper Keeper? Did you use the Trapper Keeper?
I don't know what that is.
Ah, you missed out. Trapper Keeper was this big like binder that you'd zipper up, and in it had all your folders for every class, and it'd be just like thick. Oh, it gives me stress dreams, gives me PTSD. But anyways, you caught up with Ryan Beecher at the event, and both talked about obviously wanting to make the team full time, the benefits of being down in Providence. And one thing I kept thinking about as I was reading is like, we've talked a lot in this offseason about how, even though the Bruins went out and got Zadorov, Lowry, this is sort of a runway for him to be a good third pairing defenseman, settle into everyday NHL duties like that. Beecher, on the other hand, I think it's different because we've talked in past episodes about the fourth line, and there's no guarantees down there. I don't think anyone is guaranteed a spot. There's 4 or 5 guys, 6, 7 even, that are vying for fourth line spots. It's not a guarantee that he makes it. And to me, I think Johnny Beecher does have a pretty big task in front of him during this training camp.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, you look at probably the 2 guys with the safest jobs are Max Jones and Mark Kastelik, right, in terms of guys that have been around a little bit, not to say they're seasoned vets, but you kind of know what you're getting from those players. Kastelik is really good at faceoffs as well, so he's a guy that probably has the edge if you're playing him down the middle. That being said, right, like you're looking at Beecher, you're looking at Justin Brazeau. If like that's just your 4 guys, I'm not even counting, hell, like if Riley Duran makes a push during camp, like Trevor Quintar, whole bunch of guys that are really intriguing. That's like Mark McLaughlin, right? Like there's so many guys that people were to have a riot. Was it 2 years ago? And McLaughlin didn't make the team out of camp, right? And he was great that whole preseason. So there's a lot of different options out there. So nothing's set in stone for a guy like Beecher. That being said, he is a guy that if he plays to his strengths, if he plays the way that you saw at Spurts last year, and it's kind of what we talked about that. It's tough night in, night out with the travel, the fatigue, the injuries that just pile up that you don't feel 100% every day. And then kind of managing that workload, I think, is the biggest hurdle he dealt with. But when he's on his game, there's very few guys if you're trying to paint, I think, the prototypical guy you want on your checking line in today's NHL, a guy like Beecher, who's one of the better skaters in the league, who's 6'3", 217 pounds, great at faceoffs, has contributed on the PK. And again, like, I don't think he's going to be a scoring threat, but like 7 goals, 10 points in 50-ish games, like not bad for a rookie trying just to find his footing. So he's a guy that if he plays to his strengths and continues to play a really simple game and lets kind of his speed and size dictate how he goes about, whatever minutes available to him, 9, 10, 11 minutes. He's a guy that should be in the running for one of those starting roles. And if you're, it remains to be seen how you kind of configure that line. But if your starting guys on your checking line are Beecher, Jones, and Kastelik, you got 3 guys that are pretty big, can move really well, are physical, and have a little more upside in terms of giving you some scoring punch. And again, that's not to say that Justin Brazeau is this guy that's cast to the side, right? He was really solid down the stretch there as a guy that's really intriguing with good hands for that size. So the Bruins have a good problem on their hands in terms of where that fourth line kind of pans out. But Beecher's a guy that, again, I'm pretty high in terms of what he can provide. And I think for him, it's all about just sticking to his strengths and letting it play out. Because if he just plays, it's kind of like Frederick, right? Where if you try to do too much, it takes away from a game. If you play a simple, smart game and you play to your strengths as to, what makes you an effective NHLer, the minutes and the opportunity should be there for a guy like Johnny Beecher.
Yeah, and I think like with a guy like Brazeau to me is more built for the top 9. I think we saw that last year. He's not this big physical presence. He is a big guy, and he's great at protecting pucks, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to be bruising guys out there. He actually has an offensive upside. And to me, like, I wonder, the more we talk about the top 6, it's like, is there a chance? And I think there is a chance. I don't think there's I don't think that it's a high percentage, but I think there's a chance he finds his way into the top 6 as camp goes. If he has a really good camp and he's effective in the preseason, it's like, all right, well, maybe that's their answer at second line right wing. So again, and that paves the path forward for Beecher to be on that fourth line more consistently. Because to me, it feels like the battle on that fourth line is going to come down to Beecher and Kastelik in terms of they're both centermen, right shot, left shot. What do you prefer? Ideally, you'd have both. Perfect world, you'd have Max Jones, Beecher, and Kastelik, and depending what side of the ice the faceoff was on, you'd rotate those guys through. But again, if Brazeau is sort of in that mix too, and suddenly he's a fourth line candidate, and again, we mentioned Duran, Kuntar, McLaughlin. Does a younger guy, do two young guys like Lysell and Merkulov make it above, and then that moves the whole depth chart down? And so again, like you have all these scenarios where it's got like Lowry on D. I think it's more cut and dry. I think we have a pretty damn good idea of who the 7D are going to be. I know Lowry mentioned I got to make sure to take advantage of the opportunity. And it's like, well, if you don't, you're not just screwed, but the Bruins are screwed,
right?
Because there's Parker Wotherspoon, but after that, I don't think there's a lot. So again, I think Lowry definitely has less competition. Beecher a lot more. So that's going to be interesting to watch in training camp. I think those two, because again, the opportunity's there. Just comes down to them taking it. I think we've hit on everything. It's end of August. We've Swayman, Ty Anderson swimming with Jeremy Swayman and going in and underwater with him and getting quotes there. I always love like the GoPro videos, like going underwater. Like I don't know, it's cool. Like I always wanted a GoPro just to like go in the ocean, be like, yeah, look, you can hear the water hitting it, but never did it.
I thought when you go down, when you put the water down there and you have the GoPro, I thought automatically the sound would change to like Under the Sea from Little Mermaid. Like those first couple of notes you hear, I thought that would always happen. Like it would just automatically translate to the video. Yes. It doesn't though. It usually sounds like shit. Yes. You get that reference? Okay, good.
I do understand that reference.
So you've seen The Little Mermaid, but you haven't seen The Godfather.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
A lot of those Disney movies I saw when I was little, and I haven't seen them in years. But like I assume I saw The Little Mermaid when I was a kid because I know like the references and stuff.
Okay.
But Godfather,
it's about a mermaid and it's underwater, so it's very nautical themed. It's not The Godfather. Godfather is not nautical themed. That'd be wild if it was.
The Godfather. Does Godfather have mermaids in it? Does Godfather have mermaids in it?
It's a really long movie. It kind of all blends together. So,
anyways, Connor. What can people look forward to from you over at Boston.com and the Globe?
Yes, we'll have you covered every step of the way over these final weeks of the offseason, whether it's Swayman news, roster projections, all that fun stuff you can read over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all of that. That's Conor Ryan, Evan Marinofsky, Bruins Beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.